Hey, do you know where you guys keep your iron? You have an iron?
So I can. An iron. I don't know actually. We don't really iron anything. But if we do, it's either in there
I can text Alex.
or the laundry closet.
Yeah, I didn't see it in there. But I'll text you.
Yo.
Hey, man. Let's see.
How's it going?
Good. It's been a busy week, man. How are you?
Yeah, same. I feel like my busyness is mostly self-inflicted, but that doesn't make it less true. No less busy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I did a presentation this morning for a friend's workshop, and that went really well.
Nice.
But just haven't had a chance to get into this. So it's going to be messy today.
Like it wasn't before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm kind of excited to. I think people are going to be interested to see this kind of take shape. I don't think we're going to finish it in a session, but that's fine. I think we'll just breeze through some stuff. I can show a little bit of my code process. You can show a bit of your design process. I think people will be into it.
That's great. You hear me okay?
What's that? I can hear you fine. Yeah.
You can hear me fine? Okay, good. Yeah, I think yeah, design early on is not something normally I'd like to show, but we'll get through this and grow. But yeah, we've got a bunch of signups, man. I mean, I promoted in my newsletter last week.
I saw that. Yeah.
So we got some from that.
I think I'm going to put it in my newsletter. I think I haven't sent one of those in a while. I don't. My personal newsletter doesn't go out weekly, like quarterly. So I'm due an update. I got another blog post I'm writing about some other stuff. It's going to go live probably tomorrow. So that'll be a good excuse to get some shit out there.
Well, we've got 4 in the waiting room. I'm just gonna
Let's do it.
bust the doors open here.
Yeah.
See if we can just turn off. Oh, there we go. People can just join as is. This will be good. Oh, this is so much easier. I don't have to click every time. What's up, everyone?
Hello.
I've used Zoom so much, but I feel like it's like Photoshop. There's so much I don't really know how to use.
There's all kinds of different use cases for it when you start doing all the like permissioning and everything.
Yeah, right. Ben, Caitlin, good to see you.
Hi, Nate.
Caitlin and I worked together at our last company.
Awesome.
Sam, Adam, awesome. We're just Tom and I were just kind of we're defining roles and what we're working on today. And Tom is doing some of the HTML coding work, and I'm doing some of the design. So
yeah, let's get into it. So for anyone who hasn't, is everyone new? I don't think I recognize too many names from previously, but 1 minute context is Nate and I are building what's going to become an online course. The original working title was Figma for Knowledge Workers. I think we are arriving at a new name called Figma Thinkers, specifically about teaching Figma confidence and skills to non-designers, so people that need to use Figma or want to use Figma as part of their workflow in their daily lives. And need some confidence and scaffolding and stuff to do that. So we're building the whole project in public. This is our 3rd live stream, I think. So we're getting there. So Nate, you've done a little bit of pre-work. So why don't you kick off with showing us the latest in the design, and then I can flip over to the HTML side of things.
yeah, so let me share. Let's see here. So the way that this is all set up, and I can share this to the chat. So that's the Figma file that we're working from. And we have okay, so we're basically keeping track of our past progress. So we're just duplicating everything into a new page here. We've, through the past weeks and collaboration with other people, we're kind of starting to lean into the messaging here around, using Figma to work and think visually. And so we've basically got some content here that is really rounding out what we think the course and content could be helpful for. And so this is just basic wires that you can skim through yourself. Getting into like what's inside the course here, and we're not really sure how this is going to take shape. These are just assumptions that we're making at this point, pricing and all this. So I've just started just from a kind of how I think about design is I tend to jump a little bit higher fidelity earlier than you probably should. Part of it is just to kind of think, I think through this stuff visually. I like to get a sense of some colors, even though these will probably change. I tend to create kind of a grayscale palette just to have something to work with, get some hex values going. I set these up as styles in Figma so that when I'm just adding these here, I can just grab and be consistent about the design decisions I'm making as we go. And so one thing I just want to point out, just from a nerding out on design, like Tom, I've noticed this on your website. I do this on mine, but just the idea of setting the canvas, the background as something besides a white background adds a lot of like emotion and personality to it. And so I kind of love that you are so intentional about that, because I do the same thing. And it's one of the first things that I do, whether this is going to be the shade that we use, probably will change, but it just kind of gives me something to work with.
Yeah, I like it.
It's more peaceful too. I'm actually writing next week's newsletter on how to, and kind of inspired by you, but like how to tweak your settings, your Google Doc settings, make it a little bit more pleasant experience.
Amazing.
Yeah. So really this is the same content. I'm just starting to kind of like think about how to lay this out a little bit differently for our landing page. These sections don't exist. I don't know if they will, but it's just something to think about in terms of a navigation here. So I tend to kind of think about things left aligned, but I kind of kept coming back to the center alignment for the hero area, just because the few elements that we're using kind of stack nicely here. And there's not too much text, so it doesn't get a little wonky with the rivers on the sides. So I think it could work.
We don't have like a hero video or
Yeah.
image to kind of put on the right. Like that's kind of like if you have the text on the left, there's this kind of gap on the right, but we don't have anything to put there yet. So I guess center align makes sense to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it simple.
Yep. So for now, before anything goes live, we'll probably just promote the a sign up form to kind of watch this. So sign up for these sessions, and then as we get closer to a launch date, we'll probably change a copy here and figure out what to how to like best promote this.
We also have to figure out what's actually going to go into this course at some point, but we keep punting that down the road.
Yeah, we've got kind of an idea for those of you who've not shown up before. On the left here is maybe a little bit better, like how we use Figma and how we think that Figma could be used for knowledge work. So presentations, visualizing data, prototyping, and really this is geared for non-designers. So people who don't use this as a design tool, but use it to work with designers or use it to communicate, information in visual ways. So we think Figma is great for that. And then, yeah, these are kind of like roles that we think that it could be useful for: product managers, strategy consultants, creators, business owners. Probably a few more that we could add there, but so that's where we're at. I'll kind of stop there. If anybody has any questions, just come off mute and ask away. We're kind of new to this in terms of building in public too, so happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and also especially if anyone has any strong opinions about why they're here, like what is it that brought you here in terms of you have experience with Figma, you hate using Figma, you love using Figma, never used it before. Anyone wants to come off mute and give a little perspective on them, that'd be great.
Yeah, hi, this is Ben. I mean, this course seems exactly geared for someone like me. I'm a software engineer, but I work with a lot of designers, and our tool of choice is Figma. and so I find myself in it a bunch, but I'd love to have some skills so that I can, communicate ideas back beyond just making comments. And then I'm also interested in just using it personally as like a more spatial kind of canvas to maybe document things that I've done, document my knowledge and things like that.
That's great. That sounds like you are 100% our target audience. Yeah, like I feel like that you really said it well. It's like there's a bunch of people around me at work that use Figma, and so you end up being in Figma files. I think that's like,
Right.
there's probably some good copy we can use there actually about like, ever found yourself in a Figma file, but not really sure what to do? Like, I think that could be kind of some interesting, like, some good like pain point, like recognizable pain point there of like, somebody sent me a Figma, like, I loaded up the Figma, like I'm in it, but like now what? I think that's nice. Cool. Well, yeah, everyone else feel free to jump in anytime. I'm going to share my screen now, Nate, and I'm going to just walk through. Let's share my whole desktop. What could go wrong? So I host almost all my projects on GitHub Pages, which is a static site generator that's backed by GitHub. I'm just going to walk through that kind of basic setup because I find that it's a bunch of things that are really nice about it. One, super flexible. It's just basically just HTML, like raw HTML. So you can just kind of do lots of different things that you want. It's free. So it's like you don't have to worry about that. There's no database, so there's no kind of like maintenance or management of this stuff that's needed really. So kind of technically, although it's a little bit clunky, like you need to like write some HTML code, there's no database code, there's no admin stuff, which I find really nice. So this is I just made this repo this morning, but I'll walk you through what I did. So on GitHub, you just make a new repository, which is basically just like a new project. And once you've got some stuff in here, then you go in settings and under pages, and then you basically just say deploy from branch. Like this is none when you first get here. You say, okay, I want to deploy from branch, which basically just means every time this branch is updated, build a GitHub Pages thing. And there's some really good documentation here from GitHub. So they have a bunch of really good kind of like how to do this beginner stuff. And then you point your DNS at the GitHub DNS on the domain name side, which Nate did for me yesterday, and then you're basically set to go, right? So then I have this repo here, which is a copy. So GitHub, basically like everything that you see here on GitHub, is just copied into a personal folder. And what GitHub allows me to do is just push and pull files back and forwards, right? We're not doing anything fancy right now. I never use the command line interface for GitHub, so I'm not doing anything fancy, anything super technical. I just have a bunch of files here that are stored in GitHub, and then I have the same files here on my machine. And the GitHub desktop app is a thing that lets me just sync them back and forth, right? So if I go into my index file here, right, and I'm like, oh, Figma thinkers, save that, and then I go to my GitHub desktop, and then I can say initial text, and I can commit, and then push. Don't really need to worry too much about all this language. But basically, you see it's like no command line interface used. I just push the files up, and then that'll take a sec. So if you see in under the hood, you can see it kicks off this pages build in the workflows. Again, I didn't have to do anything. I just clicked the button to push the files up into GitHub. And then once that runs, which will run in like a couple minutes, like it's not instantaneous, but it's also not very slow, you'll be able to see that the website itself has changed. And that's it. And you can do some more, like you can do some like templating work because it's using a format called Jekyll, which is a kind of very basic templating language. So you can kind of say, when I have, the headlines of my blog posts, they go here, and then it'll kind of fill all that in for you and stuff. So, it lets you do all the stuff that you'd expect, but it's just very simple and clean, which I like. I can invite Nate into this GitHub repo as well, so he can push stuff back and forth, so we can collaborate on it if we want to. So that's kind of yes, you see this little tick went green. So that means now if I go to Figma Thinkers and I hit refresh, it says, hello, Figma Thinkers. That was the text that I just put in the website. This is our very first website. Great. Now there's a bunch of, you can use like off-the-shelf templates and stuff. I tend to like to kind of roll my own because I'm a weirdo that way. And so, I could build the website here. And this is where I'll build the website, like when we actually kind of properly do it. But it's just slightly slow because I have to push back and forth to GitHub to kind of see all the changes and stuff. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to work in a Replit, which is a kind of much faster prototyping place. If anyone use Replit, anyone unfamiliar with Replit?
Yeah, I've not used Replit either.
The
I've
Replit is just
used, but I'm aware of it.
yeah, it's just a cloud interface that lets you write code in the cloud. So I created this like outline here earlier. So this lets me host this website. And so again, here I can be like, hello world. And then you can see it kind of live updates over on the right here, which is quite nice. So I'm just gonna get my Zoom screens out of the way. So I'm going to start building Nate's design here now in this Replit. Again, a couple pieces that are just kind of quirks and things that I do as a weirdo is I use tachyons, which is very similar to Tailwind, if anyone's used that, but it's basically like a CSS like framework, which helps me speed up CSS, and you'll watch me use that in action in a second. And I have got, I put the Google font for Inter in here because I saw that Nate was using Inter as his font over here. So yeah, so I'm just going to flip back and forth between these and start doing some coding, but feel free to ask questions and stuff as you go. Any questions so far, by the way? Anything that didn't make sense, or any questions that people have about how this all worked?
That's really cool. I've used GitHub quite a bit in the past, but I've only done it from terminal, and it's always been, there's always like little things that just frustrate me as a designer. So this is a new workflow I've never actually tried before. Do you still get a lot of conflicts, or is it?
I get no conflicts because I just override every time I push. I just override everything. I don't do anything fancy about like forking, or honestly, I'm using GitHub as a pretty dumb tool. The way that I use it, it's like super powerful under the hood, but that's how I do it, at least. So
Maybe you mentioned this, but the reason why we're using GitHub Pages is because it's free, right? Is that?
Yes. That is a crucial distinction here.
So we paid for the domain name. You have Cloudflare that you pay for, I'm guessing.
I actually use the free version of Cloudflare. Actually, again, also, I'm a cheapskate. I like to keep it simple. Yeah.
Awesome.
What is it that Cloudflare does in this architecture for everything?
The reason that I started using Cloudflare was because it let me add the security certificate. So we have a HTTPS for our domain names. I think that GitHub might let you do that via GitHub now. I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, so basically I use Cloudflare for just purely kind of DNS pointing and the SSL stuff. But again, Cloudflare is super powerful. You can do all kinds of stuff with Cloudflare, especially with edge workers, where you can add dynamic code scripts that run like at the cloud edge, which is really really fancy. But again, I have not figured out how to do that. So yeah. So you can see this is so what's great, what I like about tachyons is as you can see me writing this here, is basically I haven't written any CSS yet. I've just been writing classes on divs. So to translate these classes into CSS, W100 means width 100%. MW9 means max width 9, which is like a step scale. So 9 is like pretty wide. PH4 means padding horizontal 4. So again, that means so basically I want like, it's going to span the whole page. But if the page is super big, if somebody has a massive monitor, it's going to constrain it to max width 9. This element is going to have padding on either side, so it's not going to push right up against the edge of the screen. It's a flex div, so the items are going to flex inside it, which means I can stack them side by side. It saves me doing like float left, float right, all that nonsense that you used to have to do in CSS, and now you use Flexbox. An item center is, again, for Flexbox, which just means they're all going to be vertically in line with each other. So right now I'm just going to build this top line nav where I have this Figma thinkers. You can see I'm just going to be like, I'm going to put font weight 8 on that headline, which is Figma thinkers, and then I'm going to put you had like a soft, what is this? What is this? This is dark gray. How do I find out what dark gray is? Nate, teach me how to use Figma. How do I find out what dark gray is as a value, as a hex value?
Oh yeah, if you click on that and then click on the setting, so open that, there's hover over dark gray and then click on the setting icon. Do you see it down there?
Yeah,
On the bottom left of that
zoom
panel.
in the way, but there we go. Great.
Yeah.
So I can, if I go my CSS, so
A quicker way is to unlink that style, see it, and then Command Z that action.
gotcha. So I'm going to use, I'm going to preface the custom CSS things that I write with Figma for our kind of little code word, just to distinguish them and so on. There are other ways to do this, and you can actually customize tachyons with your own like full style guide if you want to. I am just not a professional enough web developer to have done that, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be nice and quick and scrappy. So Figma dark gray, so I'm going to add that to this class. Let's see how that's shaping up. So we have Figma thinkers, pull the future to the present. Nice. And we also need, let's set up some scaffolding. This whole page is this off-white color. So I'm going to go off-white. Oh God, I've got too many zoom windows around. Hang on. Okay, that is this color. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to move all my zoom windows around while I'm doing this. Okay, so that's going to be a body color. So background color is this. All right. So yeah, so let's go back over here. Okay, so we've got this nav bar that I'm just building up here. This nav bar is this width 100 business over here. We have this thing on the left, and then we're going to have another div over on the right, which is going to we want that to float right, so that's margin left auto, and this is going to have inside it some links. What links do we have? Pricing, newsletter, about. Why don't we just make that newsletter about for now, because we haven't got any pricing. Let's see how that's doing. All right, so we can take a look at this full width as well here, because that's what was also really nice about using tachyons. Actually, one of the biggest benefits of using tachyons is that it has built-in distinctions between large, medium, and small screens. And you don't have to worry about any of the breakpoints. So turning this mobile friendly, right now I'm just going to design for desktop, but making it mobile friendly afterwards is like super, super easy, right? So where I had like width 100, I can just do width 100-L, and that means for large screens. And then for small screens, I can just do width-50. And then instantly I have a different layout, a different CSS class, depending on how big the screen is. I don't have to worry about figuring out the breakpoints, rewriting a bunch of CSS. It like makes it super easy. So yeah, okay, so we have this thing. Obviously, it's not perfectly aligned yet. I'm going to figure all of that out as we go. We need a little bit more vertical padding, right? So this this class that we have here should probably be padding vertical, let's say padding vertical 2. It should probably be padding vertical 4. Let's see. And that number scale there is simply a size type, like a stepped size scale that tachyons provide, which once you use tachyons once or twice, you can kind of start to get your head around. Okay, that's looking a little bit nicer. Let's use this headline now. I'm moving pretty fast here. Like this is pretty pretty representative of how I usually code, to be fair. So H1, this is going to be font weight 8, I believe. Let's see how big Nate wants this thing. 67, which is probably going to be like, let's do this F headline. That might be too big. This is a pre-built font size the tachyons provide. We'll see how big that is. Center.
I would like to add that Tom and I have never actually built something together before. So when you see font size, Tom, so when you see like some of that stuff, that's all gonna probably change. I know you'll set your H1 classes, but
But it took me so long to build this, Nate. What the WTF? You really think this is going to? I think we're kindred spirits in that sense. So this is the Tachyon docs that I'm just going to dip into real quick because I need my type scale, and I need to know how big to make this headline. So I'm going to go in and be like, great. And so this is Tachyon's headline, subheadline, and F1. Which do you think? Which is any of those better or worse for you, Nate?
oh, sorry, ask that again.
So we got the headline size, we got subheadline size, and we have F1 size. Which of those feels nicest to you?
Yeah, I think that's good for now.
Or which? Yeah.
Oh,
for the main headline,
the second one.
the subheadline.
Yeah.
Is that subheadline? I think it's F subheadline. Yeah, that should be subheadline. Does that feel big to you? F.
It does feel pretty big.
Let me try F1. Let's just try F1.
That's better.
I think that's closer to what you have, right? The TC, text center, I'm going to put this div in the middle. It's going to have our thing in here. Right, this of course is not actually black, I'm guessing. This is this funky 1B color that Nate has nicely. I'm gonna put that in my styles over here. Black and color. You know, somebody's got to teach me how to use CSS variables one of these days, because I think that's probably the thing that I should be using for a lot of this stuff. Actually, that black color is probably going to be the default color for text, right, Nate?
Yes, that's right.
So actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that my, I'm not going to call that Figma black. I'm just going to make that my HTML black, and then I'm going to override it as I need it. Oops. There we go. Use Figma to work and think visually. We've got subheadline. Let's use that as H2. That's equals. Let's see what we need over here. It's too strong. Too strong. So I'm going to put font weight 4, which is like regular font weight. And I'm going to make that an F2. It should be F2 by default. Let's see. What do you have over here? Let's try that. And then so that just is going to squish my line height a little tighter. And then I want margin top 0, so I want to squish them a little bit closer together. That didn't work, did it? Maybe padding top 0, maybe that's what I need. Oh, I know what I need. I need margin bottom 0 on this one. That's what I need. And then that'll smush them together. Oh, that didn't work either. Great. All right. If anybody gets bored, we can talk about something else. I'm just going to keep jamming over here.
I was going to say that setting up those variables would be really quick for you if you want.
Yeah, you want to teach me how to do it?
I haven't done it in a minute, but I just pulled up MDN and was reading through it. And yeah, give me one more second just to finish reading.
Yeah.
Refreshing on this, because when you said that, I was like, oh, I haven't done that in a while either.
And I think you might even be able to follow along with the replit over here. I'm not sure how public this file is, because you can actually collaboratively code on this as well if anybody wants to give that a try.
I do have an account. I don't have a link to what you're working on currently.
All right, well, I'm going to park some of the padding stuff for a second. I'm going to do this email thing because that's going to be more fun. First, I'm going to have a div that is a flex box. I'm going to have a left-hand div for the email sign up, which is going to be a background white, border radius 3, padding all 2. This is going to say something like, okay, Now, this is going to be gray. Let's try that. What does that do? Okay, we need border. So border all. Border is going to be the color of black 20. Let's try that. Okay, let's see how close that is to what Nate's got. Nate's got a stronger black on that, black 50. Again, I'm like eyeballing your colors and design here. And you're gonna hate me for that, but this is gonna be width of 75. Then I'm gonna put the div for the button, which is gonna be background black, color white, padding all 2. We'll do the same as the actually let's do padding all 3. It's gonna be better for this, I think. It's gonna be the same on both. Padding left, nope, margin left 2. Okay. And then that's gonna be see that. There we go. That's looking pretty good. And by pretty good, I mean obviously nothing like as polished as what Nate designed, but it is getting closer.
I did get the variables working if you were interested in doing that.
Go.
It's amazing.
Tell me what to do.
All right, so if you make a selector for :root, and then in there, if you prefix with 2 dashes, followed by whatever variable name you'd like to use. Oh, sorry, inside the selector. Yeah, and then you could say your blue or background blue or ASDF, whatever you want to call or store in the variable.
This, right?
Yep, and then another colon followed by the hex. So you've defined it now, and then to use it, you just replace the hex with a function that's var, V-A-R, and open close
Like-
parentheses.
Here, you mean? This is var.
Well, sorry, you'd keep color as the property, and then for the value that you're assigning,
Okay.
you would use then dash dash your, yeah.
Like that?
Yep. So you would define your variables in root, and then you would consume
once-
them
And then reuse them over here.
by passing the variable into the var function.
So I think if I'm going to do this properly, let's try this. So if I go Figma black, and I take this one, this, and here I can do var. Oh, outside var. Figma black. Like that, right? Oh yeah, I just learned something. That's beautiful. Excellent. I've been putting off learning that for a long time because it looked complicated, and it turns out maybe it's not that complicated. Sam asked a question. I think I missed this. Were we hosting from Replit or hosting it from GitHub Pages? So I'm going to host it on GitHub Pages. You could actually host it from Replit if you wanted to. You can point a domain name at Replit. And I do want to try that out at some point, but GitHub Pages just feels a bit more robust and stable. But I love coding live in Replit. Like you just get this like immediate feedback loop. It's a nice environment and so on. So especially for the purposes of this, I'm just going to code it for now in Replit, and then I'm just going to copy and paste it into the GitHub Pages. So it's going to host off GitHub Pages. I'm going to copy the code over there, but for now, I'm just doing it live in Replit. Yeah. Shall I keep? Oh, I like this. What Nate's doing.
Not sure I love that yet, but that's there for now.
Nice.
I think
That's
like when
nice.
it comes to images and things like that, if you can leave those probably, but you could use circles as placeholders, for now, Tom.
Instead of doing the arrow shape, you mean? Or
Yeah,
oh, you mean down here?
No, I was talking about the arrow shapes, like the masking that's happening. Like, maybe we don't keep those, but it's just.
Well, the easiest way to do it would be just export that as an image, right? Instead of doing the masking in CSS.
Exactly.
I'll just export that as a triangle image. Same for these little elements. I'll just export those as images. I'm guessing like the perfect way to do this would be to export them as like SVGs. Certainly these little elements are kind of good candidates for SVGs, but for a project of this kind of robustness and scale, I don't think we necessarily need to worry about that. Okay, should I keep going? Is this useful, interesting to people? Do we want to pop back to Figma, do some more design work? Like, what do people want to see? Any questions?
Hey, Caitlin, how do you use Figma at all?
Only when you and Carl are, am I working with you or Carl? So I would like to use Figma more, really just based on how much you've recommended it, Nate. And so that's kind of why I'm here, is just figuring out the different things that it can do besides just be mock-ups for, you know, the individual things that we've done.
Right. What company are you with right now? What's your role?
I'm not. I'm still searching. I haven't found anything yet, but I'm working on potentially starting my own consulting business and going independent. So there's a reason that like I think Figma could be a part of my tool set.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rock on. I love the indie consultant lifestyle. We can talk about that separately.
I was gonna say Nate's last newsletter was like, I feel like there's so many newsletters that Nate puts out that are written for me, and one of the most recent ones, I was like, okay, I can do this. Yep, I can change my lifestyle. I can be independent.
Amazing.
I highly recommend checking out Tom's website because he's got so much great writing on this specific topic.
Yeah, I will.
I have indeed done probably more writing than I should. About being an indie consultant. It is true.
Normally people say the opposite of, oh, I want to write more, or it's like, I got to cut back on that writing.
I have other things that I want to write more about, but indie consulting is not one of them. yeah. Well, that's not true. I'm trying to write a book. I've almost finished my book. I just got to get that book over the finish line. That's my next big project. But most of that book is already written, so. I'm curious, Nate, how do you build websites? We're talking about my process here, but you are handy at putting HTML pages together too. Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, I used to do more of what Tom's doing now, but I gave up and I use Webflow now. So all of my sites are built in Webflow, and I do build out custom pages and template pages for articles, but it's all using Webflow. Maybe even I started dabbling a little bit with Framer, but I think I'll just stick with Webflow for now. But the process is usually like what we're doing now. So designing in Figma, laying out. I tend to start with like a desktop version and then do the responsive versions in Figma. If I'm lucky, I'm working with a talented developer who I don't need to design every single screen for, because not everything needs to be pixel perfect. And yeah, then, I think, I can't remember if it was Ben or Sam who asked about that process, but like it works really well with designers and developers to be able to, like Tom is grabbing CSS code, hex values directly from Figma, but just by clicking on an element. So it's really great for crossing that bridge of design to development. Yeah, I'm going to screen share, Tom, for just a sec.
I'm going to keep building HTML in the background.
Yeah, I think kind of what I was doing is I just set up like a basic grid. I don't really like adhere to grids too much. It's just more for to keep a container on things. But what I was trying to do with this area is to, maybe I'll design some icons or something for each of these little capsules here, but thinking through the features, and we, just from a design standpoint, like we could just lay these out as bullet points and that would probably be fine. But I think calling these out as like major features or benefits of the course could be kind of interesting. So I started thinking about some header copy and then throwing in some dummy copy for the, for the description of it, but we might want to come up with something for these. I think they feel like we could add on a little bit more. So if we're talking about presentations, you could, trying to think of like types of presentations we could call out here under as this call out here, but
yeah, I think we should probably get to the who it's for before we get into what it is.
yep.
We talk about that in the first bits, but I think it's really important. I think it's one of the unique things about this course is that it's got a kind of very odd audience in a sense.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that like after the why are we building this, I think we should have like a little like some little section that's like that has that, strategy consultants, product managers, etc. And we could even maybe like I don't know, maybe this is too heavy-handed, but we could be like product managers, like in bold, who find themselves, working with designers, engineers in bold, who find themselves working with UX teams, consultants who find themselves, creating concepts for clients or like wireframes or like, I think there's something kind of you could do like both the who it's for and kind of what their pain point is.
Yeah.
I think that could kind of work.
Yeah, I like that. I think this is kind of the nice thing about, sometimes you're thinking through a layout and it might not work for that specific piece of content, but maybe what Tom just described could be. So we have a list here. We're going to put that. So the layout that we're using, maybe it won't be used for this. Maybe it still will be, but it's kind of nice to kind of format some of this content to see how impactful it could be visually. So Tom, were you thinking something almost like this where you have the title and then you have it kind of like what they're using it for under each?
Yeah, I mean, I was almost thinking of it like a sentence for each, where it's just the person. So like I was thinking like almost this is not let's do this like it's like a
Yeah, got it.
I don't know if it's better or not, but I just thought like it kind of, and it could be a bullet point list rather than a I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have strong opinions. I'm not sure which is better necessarily, but that was what I was thinking. Maybe what you have helps the.
Yeah, I tend to just kind of whip through iterations of this stuff pretty quickly. So maybe it's, you could do something like this. This could be bolded or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, something like that could work.
I like that though. I mean, I think this kind of works for features, but I think it also works really well for job roles.
Yep.
So we could have strategy consultants, creators. And there's a lot of websites where you're just kind of like duplicating this layout over and over. And I think part of the art of designing a landing page is, it's like copywriting where you want one line to lead to the next, but visually when you're just duplicating content, it just all sorts to just sort of like look the same. And I think a convention like this, I would probably not stack them, back to back like this. We'd probably find a different way to treat the content so it stands out on its own. So we've got 4 here. I wonder if we could come up with another 2 or could do a 2x2 grid too. Caitlin, yeah, the life of India is a strange one. I did a workshop this morning on designing YouTube thumbnails, and now we're designing this. So it's you can bounce around quite a bit.
I like it.
I'll just leave this as
I love how we have this like real-time view of like what the designer delivered versus what the developers delivered. It's like it all looks so nice and lined up in Figma, and my replit is still like janky and all over the place. It's all work in progress. It's fine.
it's gonna work out pretty well. Probably even. Something like this. Like I'm already kind of trying to think about like, are icons going to work here? Are illustrations of types of people? That could get pretty complicated and weird, so I might stay away from that. But you know, if we had 4 main categories of workers, that could see here. Figma has this great auto layout feature that seems somewhat controversial to designers, but I actually enjoy it quite a bit. But it allows you to kind of stretch you can kind of control your content a little easily here. So normally I would just not worry about the copy too much at this point. We're just trying to get a sense. Helps Tom like know like where we're headed, and we can always update the HTML later for the content. But
I also think we said this on previous streams, but like one of the things I love about doing this process of building the landing page and trying to like really think through like who it's for and what copy you're using is we're going to work backwards from that into like what the course actually is, right? Like once we get some kind of clarity on who we're building this for and what their pain points are and what language works best, how we describe the kind of the thing, then we can actually make the course so that it actually lives up to that, right? This is almost like the target that we're aiming for, and then we have to go back and actually build the course in a way that we feel matches these things. But yeah, I think that's kind of why I like doing it this way.
Just gonna let that sit for a bit. Yeah, do you want to go back to your screen, Tom? And
haven't made much progress.
how about developers? Yes, Ben. Absolutely.
All right, this is what I got so far. I pulled in this these arrows. This is versus like what Nate designed. So I'm going to try and you can kind of see that it's not quite as polished as it needs to be. The spacing and sizing and stuff is not quite there. So H2 needs to be a bit bigger. Let's see if it might already be an F2, and we need more, less padding. Let's try that. This is a heavier font. This is font weight 8. Let's try that. Let's try that. It's getting closer. Trying to tighten up this spacing that Nate has here. In fact, try margin bottom 0. See what that does for us. Okay, maybe I'll fiddle with that later. What do you think this email, what do you think these arrows do on mobile?
Hmm.
Because that'll help me figure out what kind of div to put them in.
Yeah.
Do you think they just collapse like they kind of move over?
Yeah, they could even go off screen if we feel like it's.
Have you seen the new Sketch website? It feels heavily inspired by that. They're animated, and they're pretty prominent.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
you can actually move that canvas around, Tom.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the animation. It feels like
Feels very busy as it is here.
busy and scripted, you know, and like kind of a like a non-organic way.
Yeah.
I mean, Figma.com does a much better job, I think, of like integrating the cursors into its like it's actually drawing things and
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's kind of cute that you can move these things around, but you kind of want them in the background. You don't want them to get in the way.
yeah, Sketch. What's their future
Okay.
look like?
Because I guess what I could do, I guess what I'm thinking is just like, I could put a, let's just try this real quick. Just to see if I can code this in 9 minutes. That might be a challenge. Okay, so let's put a flex box around all of this. Okay, so this is going to be my flex box for the for this form sign up, and I'm going to put the okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put with 3 divs in here. Okay, so I'm going to 3 divs. This is going to have an arrow. This is going to have an arrow, and this is going to have my sign up box. So if I go back here and I grab this, can I export that as 1 frame? Is that 1 frame? Let's try that. Yeah, all right. That. And this is going to be let's try and do this. Great, looking good, guys. Looking good. I'm not sure if my sarcasm is coming through. And the arrow's going to go over here. What happens when I Okay, there we go. Now let's make sure these are not too big. I'm going to constrain it to height 3. My thinking is basically, there we go. Let's get rid of that. Put this on 7. Yep. Okay. Let's say like 20. Just going to try and demonstrate the so this is basically saying display none, so hide this arrow div, but then when it's large, display it as a block. So I'm going to do that for my 2 arrows. And then for this, I'm going to do not this one, class equals width 60 large, and otherwise width 100. So if I can, hey, there we go. It's not looking so bad.
Yeah.
And then if we look at this on mobile, let's see if this is going to work. I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, so you see how mobile view, the arrows are hidden, and this spans the whole width. So width 100. But then when I get rid of mobile view and I go full desktop, this goes to width 60, and these are displayed as blocks. That's what this is here. So the 2 arrows, see, they say width 20, display none is the default, and then if the screen is large, you display them as blocks. And then the middle one with a form is width 60 on a big screen. If it's a small screen, width 100.
Sorry,
And
my
then-
internet logged me out a second ago. Do you mind just showing which element has the arrows? Not the left and right arrows, but the arrows with your photos. Those are super cool.
That is just this element here. It's just an image. This element here. It's
Oh,
just
and
an image.
that's a single image. I see.
That's just a single image for now. Yeah, that's and I could, yeah. So you could, these could be actual like profile photos with like an SVG clip path on top, but I can't be bothered doing any of that. So I'm guessing that this is going to stay as a.
Wow, that happened fast.
So this is what I did here. Was I just and so you tell me if there's a better way of doing this, Nate. But I just grabbed these images and put them in a frame. They might actually already be in a frame. I don't know. They already, no, maybe not. I just put them in a frame so that I can export that frame as a single PNG.
Yep.
And it's got a background. The background is white here, and I
Yep.
just so you turn that off. So turn off the show and exports on the fill, and then that means it'll export as a transparent background PNG.
Yep.
Cool. That's an awesome trick. Thanks.
exactly what I would have done. Yeah, and then you
Oh,
said
and
2x.
I export it at 2x PNG so that it works on Retina screens. I don't know if that's a better way of handling that, but I just do everything at 2x because it seems to work
Because
better.
it's a larger file size, so it can expand without compromising quality.
It's actually increasing the resolution, I think, or something.
It does increase the resolution to 2x. So if you're at 481 right now in width, it would double that. And then get scaled down when you implement it.
Interesting.
But it's actually, but it like, so if I do this at 1x, right? So I'm gonna do this at 2x. I think you can actually tell the difference in resolution just by looking at them. Maybe it just makes it bigger. But you see how it's kind of blurry at 1x?
Yeah.
So you make it at 2x and then just like squeeze it down, constrain its size, and then it's a higher resolution. I have to do this for all my images. I do this trick for because otherwise it looks blurry on a Mac screen. So
I've known that they're, using transparent background in Figma. I've done it by accident with some tutorials, but it's always super helpful to be able to have that for embedding. So thank you for reminding me about that.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, that's what that's again, there might be, I'm going to learn some tricks on how to use Figma better while I work next to Nate, but that's how I do it. It's just, yeah, put it in a frame so that you can download it. You can also do, if you just want to do something like I can grab some elements and right click, copy as PNG, which can be handy if I'm putting it into another document or something. I don't have to go there to download, re-upload, and so on. But I need to download it the file so that I can upload it into Replit. So
yeah, it's also really useful for SVGs because you can copy as SVG there as well for icons. Do you ever use like Image Optim or anything, Tom?
what is that?
It's a image optimizer. So Figma does an okay job, but if you have this on your desktop, you can drag the exported files into Image Optim. It'll compress them a little further. It's like a super basic Mac app, but it's pretty handy. It usually crunches them like 25% further.
Yeah, I have done when I actually like finish a web project or get close to finishing a web project, I'll go scan through and just check all my big images, like drag and drop them into something like this, which I think that's the same thing, but it's a little annoying, honestly, to like go back around at the end of a project to do that. So
yeah, Ben, Frame is it's like a group, but in Figma, it's a couple of different. They kind of like mix them up a little bit. So a frame is also an artboard in Figma, but it allows you to kind of customize the shape of a box, whereas a group is like a folder and it scales everything. A frame, you can kind of like keep everything the same size and scale, and then adjust the boundaries of a frame. But yeah, it's kind of like a formalized group, I guess, but it's a little confusing, I'll admit. Yeah.
Stuff like that's got to be week one of our course, right, Nate? Some definitions and terminology of these basic units. Yeah, a frame is, they're pretty intuitive, but you're right, it's not quite a group, and it's not quite an artboard. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. But this page that you're building is made up of frames, right? So like, what is this frame?
The container of all of those are also artboards. But yeah, the shortcut is F or A, that it goes to the same thing. So F for frame, and then A for artboard, do the same thing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, but the order layout stuff, so when you want to make text kind of flow nicely inside a frame, like it needs to be a frame to do the order layout stuff. Is that right?
You can make it an auto layout with, by bypassing the frame step, but yeah, it does need to be a frame.
Gotcha. Cool. We're about time. Any other questions or last comments for folks before we break here?
No, I just wanted to say thanks. It's cool to see how you're building it.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
If I can attend next week.
Thanks for your help with the CSS variables. I learned something new.
Yeah, this is recorded. We're not sure exactly how they're gonna like live yet, but we might release the batch. At least for posterity, it's helpful for us to have as we build this out. But yeah, thank you so much, Caitlin. And Ben, Sam, Mateus, Christian, good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Great.
See you next
Thanks.
time.
See ya.
See ya.